Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Ed Cruz, and this is the last lesson. This is episode 50, and I'm going to change gears a little bit because I can. And we're going to talk about the Chi Sao Core. And you remember in the overall core, as far as things how I have it currently designed, I have stance primary first, secondary is punch, and then underneath that you have Silam Tao, and off stemming from Silam Tao is Chi Sao. Okay. Is it Venn diagrams, or the way I have a diagram might maybe altered a little bit, but those are the core things that you want to consistently practice individually by yourself if you have to. But what I'm going to talk about today and spend focus on is the Chi Sao Core and the things that you can practice by yourself. And yes, it is essential that eventually you do get a partner, but like I said, 2/3 of your training by yourself, dummy, and then with a partner can still be accomplished. And like I said, if you can't do the motions correctly by yourself, don't expect it to get any better with your partner. You really have to have control of the motion and understanding. So what I'm going to spend is a little time on the Chi Sao Core and to break it down a little bit. So in the beginning, we're going to start with motions that work in the sense as far as by yourself. So individual motions, right? So here is Tan, Bong. You want to get this actual motion down. This is one of the core motions. Tan Sao, Bong Sao. Notice the distance that I'm doing these motions. Tan, Bong, Tan, Bong is exactly the same. Forward energy is already there. You don't have to emphasize it going forward. The motion is already built in there. You just have to get the motion smooth for Tan and Bong. Then the second motion is from there. You have low Fuk, high Fuk, low Fuk, high Fuk, right? Fuk Sao motion. This can be practiced on a regular basis by itself, so you get comfortable with the motion itself. Practice both sides, left side, right side, Tan, Bong, Fuk, high Fuk. The differences is we'll go into detail later on, but for the most part, individual motion of getting it very smooth, defining where the center is, knowing the position are all key things that you want to have. Very key is that you start to understand the basis of your house. That means if my hands are drawing a triangle in this direction or in this manner, notice if I do a motion from low Fuk Sao, high Fuk Sao, low Fuk Sao, high Fuk Sao, Tan, Bong, Tan, Bong. I've done it so many times I know exactly what my 0 point for that technique is. That means my most comfortable position for holding that triangle. If I get cramped in, just a pinch, or extend further out, just a pinch, I recognize that and can make the adjustments right away. But that is all from a reference of the 0 point. It takes time to develop that. Like just how you practice the punch, getting the Tan Sao Bong Sao motion was something I spent a lot of time working on. And then recently I've added in the Fuk Sao motion by yourself, because there are little differences in the motion from low Fuk Sao to high Fuk Sao in the positioning there. Detail of which we'll talk about a little bit later, because this is the core, just explaining how the core exists, or what you're looking to practice. Then when you feel comfortable with that, we start with the inside gate first. Inside gate means basically inside the triangle home. You have the Tan Sao and the Bong Sao combined, and then alternating the motions one after another. This is inside. That means my technique is drilling. You're learning the drilling motion in the inside gate, and then that guy will be either in the outside gate, which is basically high Fuk Sao, low Fuk Sao, matching it. So from here, he's in low Fuk Sao. From here, he's in high Fuk Sao, and then you're learning the drill motion. The opposite then to practice, and you can practice that by yourself, getting that motion very comfortable. And then the Fuk Sao motion, because you have two motions here happening. The inside Fuk Sao has the elbow slightly in more. This outside matches the Bong Sao. And then what you have is basically this motion, right? Same distance, not one, even though this is not, this is a high Fuk Sao, the adjustment of that is when you do it, it's the same distance. You're not one shorter than the other. When rolling, you work on the drilling motion. From here, the phrase for the Fuk Saos, there's a chiseling motion, more of a different. Remember in wingchun when we touch, we drill, but also the reverse motion is the opposite of drill motion is a chiseling motion when the force comes in. So the Fuk Saos, whether it's low Fuk Sao or high Fuk Sao, you're basically this motion here. You have two motions, drilling, doing different motions. Eventually, you can do different cuts, and I didn't talk about this before. When I go from low futsal, this is more of a passive motion because he's active on the futsal, on the tanzao, and I go on a scraping motion. When in turn, when I do the high futsal, I'm on an active motion. I'm more active on that, and I'm basically leading the cut motion in an active way. So this is scrape, cut, right? Chiseling motions with different functions involved, because bong in tanzao in this case is active, bangsao in this case is passive. Okay, and once again, simple breakdown just to understand where you're doing. So you're doing individual motions of tan bang, high fuk, low fuk. Then you combine the motions of inside gate, right? Rolling motions of inside gate. Then the outside gate of high futsal, low futsal. And then you can also practice by yourself, regular roll. Tanzao with a high futsal, bangsao with a low futsal, right? And then you just practice that motion also by yourself. Notice the breakdown we have there. In addition to working on that rolling motion and feeling comfortable with it, you can start working also on changes. There's only so many changes that you do. So from tanzao position, right, you're gonna circle around and then go to a high futsal, right? So from here, the actual change position to change from inside to outside requires a looping motion to go from tanzao, goes around high futsal, and then also from this position, high futsal comes around back into tanzao. The opposite then would be the person who's in low futsal, right? Who's in low futsal here follows that motion to go to bangsao. The person bangsao follows that motion to go low futsal. And you can practice that motion. That same motion, right? If I wanted to work on it to change, if I wanted to change from here, you can do the same change as well. But feel comfortable first. And again, this is just a preview, just to understand the breakdown of what you're practicing. Once you feel comfortable with that single stick, double stick motion, you can also work on the lobster motion, which is actually in conjunction with it. Lobster motion is basically you're in stance, you shift, and you have bangsao motion. Bong, lop, bong, lop. Bong, lobster motion over and over. You want to make sure both hands are even, you stay square, right? But it's like turn here, and then both hands are even on this. So if I go like this, see, my body's exactly the same. My body's just turn, bong, lop, and then the variation on this is basically if he by the time I box out, if he touches my motion, right, I can switch, right? There's two versions of shifting, right, or actually changing. If I'm here, by the time he touches, that means he's going to create the lock because he's doing the opposite. If I'm doing box out position, he's in box out position here. So if I'm in box out, the moment he touches like this, boom, I can switch or vice versa. Detail, we'll go into that also. But notice the different breakdowns that you can do and practice by yourself to get the motions looking smooth and nice. Eventually, right, you can go do a walkthrough of the single stick. So from here, I wind up palm, right? But usually it's from here. I wind up palm, okay? And then follow to bong. And then reset, okay? Or circle around. You can actually circle around to do it. But even simple things like this, palm, punch, reset, follow, punch, reset, palm, punch, and so forth. So basically, anything that you do, you can get through the motions and walk through it, actually till it's clear. The biggest emphasis I want you to do is having that motion very clean as far as tan to bang, fuk to high fuk, and basically inside roll and outside roll. Eventually then, with the Chi Sao Core, you can actually work on the attacks too. 6 basic attacks. You can have the palm, right? The punch, the lap, the hyun, the pak punch, and the por jung, right? There's detail on how to practice and do this by yourself. Again, this is just to give you an overview as far as the core things that you need to work on. Like anything else, stick to the basics. Make the motions of tan bang, high fuk, low fuk very clean. Once that's clean, make it very clean on double stick motion. And then you'll notice if you actually spend time by yourself developing this motion looking smoothly, it'll be an easier transition when you finally work with your partner because you recognize what right feels like by yourself. And then from the right, you can make the adjustments once you make contact with your partner. Okay, so yeah, just a general overview of the Chi Sao Core. Eventually I'll have this all written down, but now you have a brief outlook of how I'm looking to develop stuff when you're by yourself and eventually with a partner. Okay?